The following episode does not contain story content. Give it a skip if you want to get back to the Concierge. We won't mind. This episode is another roundtable discussion by the North Mist video game developers discussing story and romance crafting in games, past and present. Welcome to Tent Talk 2. Yeah, so this is our second Tent Talk. We're hanging out with a bunch of ex-BioWare people and John today. I don't know how to start this, guys.
Keep going.
The adventures of ex-BioWare.
But who are you,
John.
Sarah, and what did you work on?
Who am I?
Yeah.
I am the voice that you've heard way too much of if you've been listening to the podcast. Hi. So I'm Sarah Hayward, the creative director for North Mist Studios, previously cinematic and realization director at BioWare. And that is a place that made video games where I met these lovely people.
Yeah, and you worked on the Dragon Age and Mass Effect
I did.
franchises.
I made characters move and things go boom and, yeah, models kiss. That's what I did.
Well, that was a good start.
Yeah, okay, I tried. Who are you?
I'm Sylvia Feketekuty. I was a senior writer at BioWare, and now I am a senior narrative designer / writer. Seems the most comprehensive, and that's usually useful. So that is what I am, and that's what I'm doing right now.
Hell yeah.
How about you, sir?
Hi, I'm John Battye, director at North Mist Studios, not former video game person.
No, but you've done a lot of play work around the city.
100%.
You taught classes.
Yep.
He's a doctor.
Oh,
How about Mary? Okay.
all right. And then there's Mary.
I'm Mary Kirby. I guess I'm the lead writer at North Mist Studios. I make imaginary people talk to each other. I'm also from BioWare.
Like you say this like you weren't like five. Like
We're not sure.
how many more years? You're like at least like 3 to 5 years longer than I was there.
I was there for 17 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, you were two more years than I was.
Just a stint, just an internship.
Just a little,
Yeah.
just a little bit.
All right, so today's topic, we have a room full of narrative people. These are the narrative designers, directors, writers, people with feelings about people with feelings that we've gathered here today to talk about how to write, how to embody characters, how to tell stories. Let's talk about scenes. So the majority of your working professional career, Mary Kirby,
What?
has been writing. What type of content have you written the most of? And what type of content do you enjoy writing the most of? Or the most? Most? If they had to fight, which would you choose?
Oh, man. Okay, so technically, I guess it would be ambients are 99.9% of video game writing, despite what almost everybody will try to convince you.
By volume.
It's all like barks that tell you to go left or hey, look at that thing. We don't know what the thing is, by the way, when we're writing that bark. It's like, please call attention to this thing in the environment. We're not going to tell you what it is or what it looks like, and it's going to move twice before this game ships.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually accurate. That's not an exaggeration.
Yeah, that's not an exaggeration. That is 100% how it works.
Okay.
Yeah. So, random barks about ladders and shit in the wilderness. That's most of what I've written over my career.
Ladders.
Yeah.
What is there to say about a ladder?
That's a really good question. But I was asked for barks.
Did you know there's a ladder over there, everyone? Hey, it's a ladder. And
Let's talk a little bit more about the craft of story and what makes a good scene. So when you sit down and you're going to write a scene, I've given you plot. I don't know, I'm staring at Mary because you're across the table from me.
Okay, great.
I've given you plot. Here's objective. Here's plot. Where do you start?
Oh, God. Well, I guess it depends. So is it plot? Is it critical path, or is this followers?
It's a follower plot, and it has romance in it. There you go. Stay
Okay.
on topic.
Okay, so follower plot is about tone. It is about finding the note that it starts on. Like, if this were a piece of music, where do you you have to hit the note off the top, and you have to land on the note at the end. And then anything in the middle, it can go wherever you want. You can make it dark, you can make it light, you can go wherever you want to go in terms of role playing. But a follower moment has to be like one song in a medley.
That's a beautiful way of phrasing that. Look at you go. It's like you're right or something.
It's like that's what I do.
So, okay, so you've got your beginning note, and you've got your intro and your outro, and the emotional tones those need to feel. But this is your character, your plot. Where do you go? Where do you reach for inspiration, or how do you begin to craft?
Oh God, this is like, where do you get your ideas from? I don't know how to answer this question.
I gotta. Do you want me to take a?
Go for it. Yeah.
Catching the.
Sylvia.
Yeah, Sylvia.
Save me.
I've cut that off. I think this is one of the very first things I was told at BioWare is like, okay, this is what really makes a fun plot, and it is basic, but it's what we call the gap. It's a simple thing, but I have to rescue someone stuck in a cave. Here's where the cave is. Cool. You go there, you rescue them. That's not a plot. That is like a side activity, maybe. What a plot is you go to the cave, but the cave entrance isn't there. You go to the cave, but the person you want to rescue has fallen in love with someone there, and they're going to be married no matter what mother says. You need that gap between what you expect to do and what you hit. And balancing the information flow in that is a skill. You do get better with it in time, but that is kind of the basic unit of a plot. So that's kind of the first thing you figure out. And in a game, of course, the game mechanics are part of the plot. It's funny, like, here's a plot. A plot, really, when you get given a rough outline of the mission you're hitting, is very, very high level, because you have to leave room for how many combat instances do we want if this game has combat? What kind of puzzles do we have here? Can we do anything with the environment, with our system in time? Is this, all that stuff also has to be worked into it. So that becomes part of the gap. Okay, it's cool if this person wants to run away with this troll king and get married, but that's not a mechanic, Yeah,
Unless it is.
She's chopped down the bridge. You need, oh God, wedding planner. Yeah, you can choose whether to officiate their wedding or narc on them.
Hey, Fable's a game, man.
This is true. Yeah, you could do that. I mean, maybe, they've chopped down the bridge. You need to physically get to them to talk them into this or out of this. You have to negotiate your way around the bridge. Oh no, there's a fight here. It's just basic gameplay units like that. And this is where you and the level designer really have to brainstorm and see what you have in terms of mechanics, because you don't always have time to do something elaborate and custom. And in fact, often not.
Okay, so we've got the ins and outs that we know that this level needs to hit. We've got a rough approximation of the gaps and the friction you're going to have to overcome to achieve the plot. How do you decide what should the player have choices of? If you're going to input branching dialogue and choices into this, where do those considerations come from?
To some degree, I think the choices are going to fall into the two categories of role-playing, of you are being somebody's friend or enemy or frenemy or whatever this is in the moment, and what needs to be accomplished in the course of this plot. If you are officiating in this troll wedding or not, there's only going to be so many reasonable decisions that a player can make without it becoming a completely different plot. You can officiate the troll wedding. You can try to get this bride to go back to her parents. You cannot start a lemonade stand. There are certain things that are going to just, you have to stay on the track of somehow this is about this troll wedding.
So is the first question you're kind of asking is, troll wedding, what would someone want to do about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we typically do try to give players some degree of spectrum of choice. I don't want to say good and evil, because I don't know where you fall in terms of the troll wedding example. What is the good option there? But divergence enough that you feel like you were making an impact, but not necessarily breaking the plot in the process. And on top of that, I think there's always a layer as well of, what is it reasonable to ask an outside party to do in this moment? You can ask an outside party to intervene and try to get your kid to come back from her weird elopement with this troll. You can't ask this person to tell their daughter that she doesn't love trolls. Like, you're not going to start a fight between her and her troll spouse. I don't know. Like,
well, you can fake that he's been having an affair. You
Yeah.
can plant false evidence.
Yes.
But you're right. You can't tell her you don't love this troll.
yeah, like that. The choice can't be you don't love this troll. Like, that's not the choice.
Unless the
you can
game
make.
has mind control powers. Like,
Yeah.
so on that note, something my favorite game we've ever made is DA2. That will always just have a soft spot in my heart for sure. And just to bring that around to the concierge a bit, because now we're in our own sandbox, taking all of these learnings and trying to push it in another direction. And John, I'm going to direct this at you too. We are intentionally trying to not morally paint your choices in the concierge. There's no good answer. There's no outright evil one. Like, it's what you have to do to accomplish your goals using dastardly methods of doing it. In the performance itself, do you have any specific takes or tactics on how you want to keep it sort of true to form?
One of the really neat things about working with people that you used to quite idolize is that you get to hear about how they created things that you loved. Because I've played all of these games joyfully before I even knew all of you. And what I'm hearing you guys talk about are two really key elements of any sort of character building model, which is objective and stakes. Objective is, what do I want in this moment, in this environment, in this situation? And stakes is, what happens if I succeed or if I fail? You can't ask an actor to be an evil person unless what you're hoping for is the Snidely Whiplash, mustache twirling, tie somebody up to a train tracks. You also can't tell somebody that they're good unless what you're looking for is classic Superman. If you want somebody who feels like a full three-dimensional fleshed out person, you got to ask the question, what do I want? And want does not have there's no moral category to that. We all have reasons why we do things. I like to think about it like driving in traffic, right? If we see somebody else do something in our daily commute that is dangerous or stupid, we get mad at them because they're a bad person. But when we have to do that same thing, we always have a reason. And so when you're talking to an actor about why might one of our actors, be playing a character who wants to kill his closest friend and confidant? Well, he has to have a good reason for that. Because he's not a bad person. He's just trying his best to fulfill this objective because the stakes are so high. If he fails, it's even worse.
Delicious. All right. How do you do that with romance?
How do you do
that with romance? I would love to know.
How do we romance? Okay, so
how make the kiss?
Rephrase the question.
Yeah, how make the kiss? Okay, so let's start back this all the way up. So, relationships to characters are kind of the heart and soul of every piece of content we've ever made and ever wanted to, kind of do. Characters, that's where we're at. Romance in the story. How do you guys kind of, just going back all the way back to how does one plot? How does one arc a relationship with a follower character through a heroic adventure?
I learned one very important lesson about romance on Mass Effect 3. And that was what players want from romance. It's really one thing, and what they want is more. I remember reading some comments that people see Liara. I wrote Liara's relationship stuff in Mass Effect 3. And I remember reading comments from some people saying, oh man, Liara doesn't have enough romance stuff. She's always calling you a friend. I'm in a romance with her. What's going on? And I was like, wait, what are you talking about? And I realized couples call each other, oh, that's my best friend all the time. It's a very sweet thing. So I had Liara call you a friend a few times. But what people thought, they thought that meant you were on the friend path and not the romance path. They thought it was a bug. And I was like, oh, no, that was just a thematic choice. You're still in the romance path. They wanted more. They wanted more acknowledgement. They wanted more scenes that branched.
Feeling of specialness.
Yeah, feeling specialness, and also that, just more time, more ramp-up time. That is one reason I explicitly, when I set out to do MREC, I'm like, what's his romance like? I was like, he's going to call you dearest and darling if you're in the romance, because that is the signal to you, the player. Yes, the romance flag has been tripped. You are on the right path. Don't worry. He's still courting you, because oh boy, I got kind of burned on that in ME3. And it's not like people were like especially cruel, but that just, it was a real forehead smack of a moment for me.
Lessons learned, yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense because, I mean, when we're talking romance, we're talking something that's very personal, very intimate. And I think what you're saying here is clarity, right? Like,
Yes.
Your player base wanted clarity, and the more explicit that clarity, the more maybe they could lean into it, because it's, a really close thing to your heart.
Literally just, they want more. They want, part of our problem with our resources has again been, do we have enough time to give you a separate date with your romance, a special moment, more than one special moment, honestly, to give you enough runway, enough you feel this relationship is working and working up to something. And I'll tell you, it's usually, again, a resource problem, because, like, Emmerich, I kind of went, okay, I'm going to sacrifice a chunk of words just for the romance, because I know it'll pay off, probably more so than I did for any other character. Josephine was close, but I think I just had a bigger word budget with Emmerich because he was a go on a mission with you follower. And I'm glad I did, because romances need time to become compelling. Like, Mary, I think you were telling me we found usually the first romance you hit in the game was sometimes the most popular because of the...
Oh, yeah. Consistently, telemetry said that whoever your first party was, you kept for the entire game. You didn't really take anybody else in your group. So, yeah, most
That's
romance
fascinating.
followers are almost always the first followers that you get.
I think it's just the most, you spend the most time with that person.
Yeah, you form a bond right off the top having them in your party. And then for a lot of players, that carries through the whole game.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, so far, plans are Concierge, your whole party's with you.
Yeah.
It's a very small party, but yeah, we're
You can't escape your party.
no,
No.
you can't. Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. Like, I know Liara was such a staple character.
I feel like I got lucky because she was a character you had to have, could not die from ME1 to ME2, ME3. And I also saw fans complaining, oh, that means Liara is the canon character. She's not, darn it. She is not. We never said that. We never thought that. The only reason is that we needed someone who wouldn't die between games.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, an awful lot of people could die in those suicide missions.
You
Shepard
could wind up
Loveclaw.
having a conversation with yourself at the end.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't hit the same.
But that's the part of type of cinematics I love making.
Yeah.
I love spending the extra thing for, like, sad Shepard being alone, being like,
Did we do the version of, I can't remember if it was ME2 or ME3 where we had a scene where if enough people died on the suicide mission, you just saw Joker saluting a bunch of coffins in the hole?
yeah.
Okay, that did exist. We did
Yeah,
do that.
That
Okay.
was ME2, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If everybody didn't make it.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I guess running it back, like pulling the ship back to romance,
Yes.
I think Liara was popular because you had her, and Ashley too, for so long. And, you got to see her change as a person. You got to see them all change as a person through the 3 games.
What we're saying is people connect with people that they're around.
Yeah.
And the more screen time that you have somebody, like, my favorite one is Garrus, because he was your bro, but then you kind of grew up with him. You were both kind of like hot shots that then went, oh shit, leadership's a thing, all the way to like, should we try to be romantic now? This is interesting. And that was obviously one of my favorites that I did, just because it had such of an established runway, because we tend to fall into, like, we being the video game industry, tends to fall into these sort of patterns of you meet them, you flirt a little, you're hooked, end of the world happens, done. Like, you never really have the relationship part of it. It's just sort of two people getting through it briefly, and then suicide mission, and then, yeah.
I would say there's more of that now, because I think companies are going, okay, we will put aside a bit more time to develop these because romances are popular.
Yeah. I did really appreciate what Baldur's Gate 3 did. Is, like, historically the culmination scenes is what we would refer to them as, but the sex scenes were, like, buried at the end of the second act right before you're going up into endgame, and that's just where they habitually lived in BioWare games for so long. And then, like, hats off Baldur's Gate 3, they put it at the end of Act 1. And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense.
So for me, a person who hasn't made a video game romance but has played a lot of them, the thing that really leaps out to me is when I feel like my participation in the romance matters. I really like the idea that there's something I'm doing to make this work. And it's not just, a bunch of people flocking to this amazing player character person, but rather something I did made the space for that romance. On the other side of it, when it feels like I'm just kind of feeding interest points into a box that eventually dispenses romance, I don't know. It makes it feels really icky to me. And so anytime that we can put, whether it's mechanical or illusory or very genuine things in the way to make it feel like I'm actually earning these payoff moments, that's what's going to give me the best feeling about a romance in a video game environment.
There's also the tangle of, at one point you have to, I think we actually handled this best in Veilguard in terms of setting up the plot flags of, okay, you can flirt with people up to this point, then we sort of start making you have to sort of decide whether you're serious or not, and if you're not, we shut it off. If you never flirted at all, it never comes up, but that state goes away. Why? Because of resource management. I've seen people request, can you date more than one person at a time? If you have the resources for it, go for it. It is exponentially complex. Like, I'm not using that word lightly.
Remember my dozen lines to have Varric say one thing about your love life? Yeah.
I honestly would rather have a game, if I'm trying to date two people at once, and it doesn't give you the choice to ask them both and go, is it cool if we do this? I would like the game yelling, what do you mean you're dating so-and-so? I thought we were dating. Like, I would want that to be a juicy, dramatic scene.
You want them to fight over you in that case.
Yeah.
Am I crazy in remembering that is actually quite literally what happens in Dragon Age Origins?
Yes.
With many of the characters?
Yes.
If you are dating one and you start to date the other, the original one will be like, excuse me?
Yeah.
What is going on here?
Oh, there's
that feels like it gives. The first time I played and it happened to me, I had a bad feeling. I had a moment of like, oh God.
Yeah, I'm not just a gamer pushing buttons. I'm somebody violating your feelings.
Yeah, there's suddenly a connection there that made me feel genuine feelings, which is what a success.
Yeah.
What a success.
Oh, one of the things we had to cut for Mass Effect 3, because we cut the physical space this happened in, was it was the Geth Consensus. There used to be a part where on that mission, you would walk up like a short cliffside to the actual physical place where the servers were held and you plugged in. And during that was the point of the game where you could rekindle a romance with someone who was back at ME1. Basically, there's a part where Caden and Garrus would snipe at each other if you had expressed romantic interest in both of them. It was fun. I love that little exchange. They were just like being kind of a little petty, just like, just for that brief moment on the mission. So, Shepard, it wasn't, but we cut the space. We had to cut it, which is a shame though, because it just feels a bit more realistic that way. People would start to get tense.
DA2 had that.
Yeah.
With Anders gouging at Fenris if you broke up with Fenris, and then Fenris like putting him down hard, and those things. I'm sure major complex branching pain in the ass, but really paid off emotionally in a big way. How do you deliver a satisfying romance based on the runway that you have, and what kind of decides what is too much cinematic budget, what isn't? You know what I mean by cinematic budget? Where does that fit, and how do you write a character whose voice to feel like a romance to somebody holding a controller?
Everybody's looking at me like I know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, Mary, how do you do that?
I just
exactly.
been talking a lot.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to like hog it. I can go first again.
Mary, how do you do that? If that is too big of a question,
no, I can do it.
Another way to maybe think about this, if it's not revealing too much,
do it.
Is
I can always cut it later.
Yeah, of course. Is there anything you're excited to be trying in this new project with regard to how romance is working? Because it's a very different situation, right? Like, this is a new IP, new gameplay, a much smaller core cast. So, what are you really excited to try out?
I would like to see if we can get more cinematic budget pending, more splits in places that make sense. there is, again, always that, oh God, how much this is going to cost me. But Sarah loves doing wildly branching choices. So if I do one, even if it's expensive, Sarah's probably going to be like, that rules. And that lets me get away scot-free with things I shouldn't, frankly.
Sorry, Sylvia, what do you mean by split?
Choice splits. I'm just talking about big splits in dialogue where you're making a choice. I will defend the noble flavor tone choice that does just go for a few lines. I think they add value, especially if you can do light callbacks to them later on, like, oh, I remember you said you hated such and such, so I did X instead of Y. They do have value that can be used for really good, cheap, ambient feedback that, yes, your offhand comment about something, we do remember that. But the big, juicy splits, I'm talking about when, like, a scene goes in a completely divergent direction. In our prototype stuff, am I allowed to say those words?
Yeah.
Okay, in our prototype stuff, we had a split where one choice you make can mean I'm starting with a romance with someone right here, right now. Also, doing that means they may kill someone. I'm not going to use names just for fear of spoilers and for fear of we'll see if we keep it, but it was very fun to write that huge divergence. It is just on paper, but it's with the pipeline we have going on. I think we can afford to do more of that, and that is fun.
That's been the majority of what the prototype's been doing is we've, like, as you may have gathered, we've made a couple of these games before, and we've kind of taken our favorite parts and trying to push them hard. So I've spent most of my waking hours trying to figure out better ways to get more animation, more unique stuff, working with John and the wonderful actors of our podcast to test out all our new pipelines so that we could do this on an indie budget. But yeah, super divergent stuff. And then Mary, you said words to me that made my synapses go yes in my brain, which is the power of the yearning
Yes.
romances. Talk about yearning romance in the spy genre.
I mean, I feel like that's the foundation of the romance in the spy genre is the tension of not knowing if something is actually going on. Are they just trying to kill me? Ambiguity. I love ambiguity just in general. And like you said earlier about the player's motivations, I like the fact that in the spy genre and in the romance in spy genre, you could be romancing somebody for wildly divergent reasons. Because you actually love them, because you're trying to manipulate them, because you think they're trying to manipulate you and you want to find out what they know. There's so many levels of knives pointed at each other in this scene as you're making eye contact and maybe kissing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot less domesticity to it.
Yeah.
It's more...
Even if you're having a sweet moment, you don't know if you're really having a sweet moment.
Are there any, like, mechanic or gameplay elements that you guys are really excited to get your hands into as you dive into the demo phase?
That paraphrase system's going to be sweet, people.
It's going to be so
This
good.
is such a
But like,
writer
yeah,
nerdy
like the
thing,
paraphrase
but yes.
system, are
Yeah,
there
that's a
other
good question.
tools in your tool case that you're really excited to get working?
Well, right now, because, we're still building the game, everybody. Everything's subject to change. However, currently it's a first-person perspective. I have never done romance scenes in first-person perspective. This is going to be interesting.
Yes.
And doing the yearning. We did some tests last summer with the motion capture stuff about, like, a lot of hands-on faces. And I think in the first-person perspective camera, there's a lot more intimacy innately just because you're not seeing it over Commander Shepard's shoulder. You're not seeing it over the Inquisitor's shoulder. It's like the viewer's perspective. So it's just going to be exciting and challenging for somebody who's done the same damn thing for 20 years. It's like, ooh, something new, yay.
I think it's cool, though. I'm excited for that.
I also think it's going to mean that you guys' one-liners are like, the stuff that isn't directly touching is going to have a lot more impact because we'll have eyes. We'll be able to see the character's eyes a lot more staring down the barrel of the camera.
There'll be a sort of nuanced reactivity that you don't normally get.
Yeah, very much. And also lines of dialogue like, hey, you got a cute butt, said ambiently when the camera is like 50 feet away from what's going on. It's really the voice actors carrying everything, but that same line delivered 2 feet from your face. Very different scenario.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that the models are more complex. It's just that closeness, much like
creates
we were
intimacy.
saying
Yeah.
with the color choices. All of these things feed into player experience, and so
Yeah.
it's how exciting.
And I mean intimacy not just on the romance angle,
Yeah.
but like the intimacy of hatred, the intimacy of scolding somebody, of comforting them. Just that deeper emotional connection, because we're removing the avatar blocking a third of the screen. And what do you, I guess, what can be cross-pollinated, and what are you excited to push further than we've been able to do before?
So my first plan is to go to Mary, and turn to her, and go, oh, I'm serious. Like, Mary, you've worked out a timeline of events. Please give it to me, and I will do what you tell me. That is my personal plan. I don't know what Mary's is.
I mean, my personal plan, because as I said earlier, I love things with 10 million moving parts because I like hating myself, I guess.
Your stories about the Landsmeet are legendary.
Yes,
Yeah.
the Landsmeet was, again, 10 million moving parts. That's the kind of thing that I do. The plan for how the story of the Concierge goes together is lots of modular pieces that can be swapped in and out. So that, like, as you said, you're going to have people rotating in and out as they go on missions. If you keep Mike back on day one, you are going to have a completely different conversation and a completely different moment with him than if you keep him back on day two. Because there are different days and different things have happened, and the progression of the story is different. So that rather than branching the way that we have done it typically, where you have a scene, it is the Landsmeet and it branches in these directions, you have 3 different conversations that are different scenes that can each branch somewhat within themselves that will set up other branching for different scenes later.
So how does that play off in the romance?
It's going to be interesting. Again, with the ambiguity and the paraphrase system of "tell Mike what he wants to hear" is the line that you just picked. I'm really looking forward to seeing how tense you can make those scenes. How much yearning and how much danger you can put into that longing look at somebody after you've just told them a bald-faced lie.
Oh, so you're making it John and I's problem. Gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gladly.
Yes.
Challenge accepted.
Hell yeah.
But I think it's important, especially in this kind of story, to leave a lot of room that is just completely ambiguous so that players can role play. I think that's where the meat of the story is in the personal investment and the personal feeling of, I want to manipulate Mike into doing what I want him to do, or I genuinely love Tilda, or whatever, projecting your emotion onto the moment and having the moment feel as though it is responding to your choice, even if you can't directly make it.
Yeah. Yes. One thing we're also in early days on, but figuring out is one thing we did at BioWare, which was useful. If you have a big cast, figuring out the flavor of romances, and what I mean by that is, is someone a broody hero with a heart of gold at their core? That is a different romantic fantasy than dashing adventurer who sweeps you off your feet, or sweet, shy person who opens up to you when you're the first person they've ever dated. Those are all different, I think fantasy is a bit better word than trope. You can blend a lot of subtle stuff in there if you want, but just making sure you're not hitting the same tone is important. So if Aaron is the intense, maybe slightly unhinged person in the romance, maybe that's what happens. Maybe Mike is, we've not discussed this. This is me just throwing a pie at the wall. I don't know. Maybe Mike is a trickier guy to get to know. Maybe he has more layers to peel back, whereas Aaron wants to get his attention. They're for it. Maybe Tilda's completely different. We don't want the same spy flavor. We do want to make sure there's variations there.
Cool. All right. I need to ask the question that everybody is wanting to hear.
Uh-huh.
Is there any enemies to lovers trope in here?
they're all kind of your enemies to lovers. I mean, so I forget.
Is that like lovers to enemies?
I'm not. Yeah. There was also a weird problem where, like, you can just hate someone. There's not necessarily tension. You can have an interesting relationship with someone you hate, and it's not romantic. But yeah, there's also, you know, you have tension between them, and it does become romantic. Like, that's kind of the whole thing here.
Mm-hmm. But that is the enemies to lovers.
Yeah. TV tropes has a lot to answer for.
I was implying that the game we're making is a loose adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. Can you imagine if it was? That'd be great.
There's been games that have done that. I
Yeah.
I want to say there's been games that have done that.
Oh yeah.
Like, how
absolutely.
sneaky can you get? How much Pride and
I wanna
Prejudice
write Mrs. Bennett as a spy master.
How much can you get in
The only way
before people notice?
I would want you to do Mrs. Bennett as she exists as a spy master, not as a front for her
my
intellectual inner
God.
self. I mean, just
Yeah.
her as she is a spy master.
Yeah.
that would be
That would be more of a challenge.
so
yeah.
obnoxious.
I'd play the hell out of that.
Well, isn't that kind of like what we did with the Edmonton Concierge? I'm just saying.
I feel like she's maybe just a touch more put together, too.
Yeah.
You know? Because the Edmonton Concierge is a mess.
I feel like
And
what if
Mrs.
He's
Bennett
a-
is.
he's
Well,
ruining his-
sure, but like there's
yeah.
different levels here, right?
He's ruining his liver. It's
Yeah.
just, it's sad.
It's true.
I don't
mean, if
think he
just-
can read.
I don't think he can read. I never learned to read.
I think he is a product of the media-saturated near future, and he doesn't know how to read. That's been my headcanon this entire time.
Wow.
Media saturated near future.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Have you
Working
shared that with
for
his
an
actor?
organization.
Yes, we've talked about it a lot.
Amazing.
Have
Yeah.
you?
Oh yeah,
Oh god.
Anthony.
Anthony
Anthony
yeah.
Goodwin.
Yeah,
Anthony's
he's
he's been great.
He's delightful. Yeah. But anyway, well, if we got nothing else to say to each other, I guess we should wrap this up.
I mean, just, again, like,
Coming to you from a, I think, canvas velour blend tent.
to read.
Don't be the
Unlike the
Edmonton
Edmonton Concierge.
Oh god. Yeah.
Sarah, can you sign us off? Regain announcer voice.
Thank you for listening to us at our tent talk. We've had fun here. I thought when I said we had fun here, people go yeah into the mics, but they didn't.
Oh, sorry,
I was
Sylvia.
making eye contact. with all the-
Thank you so much.
Tent Talk 2 was brought to you by our incredible Patreon community who make this podcast possible. That's the likes of Emu, Tiffany Lowe, Scrutiny Fox, Paul Dutton, and SCP Archives. We're actually running a thank you campaign throughout the summer over at patreon.com/North Mist Studios, where Mary Kirby and Sylvia Feketekuty are presenting text-based short stories from the world of the Concierge, and the spin-off series Kin Basket. Help us keep the lights on and check out some fun, haunting, dramatic stories, plus some extended behind-the-scenes discussions, available for all paid tiers. That's patreon.com/North Mist Studios. Truly, thank you from all of us.